World Breastfeeding Week is held in the first week of August every year to promote breastfeeding as one of the most effective ways to ensure child health and survival, despite being one of the most natural and beneficial acts for both mother and child. Breastfeeding is often surrounded by misinformation, cultural barriers, and lack of support. To discuss these, we are joined on the news at 7 by Mohammed Okoria, Social Policy Manager and Officer in Charge, UNICEF Lagos Field Office. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Mohammed. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening and good evening, viewers.
All right, let's start with this, talking about prioritizing breastfeeding to create sustainable support system. Why does UNICEF place such a strong emphasis now on breastfeeding during the first 6 months?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me put on record that one of the first rights that a child enjoys as soon as the child is born is the right to breastfeeding, because breastfeeding holds all the child needs to be able to survive the first 6 months. It is the first meal of the child. It is the first vaccine of the child. And it also provides that first bond of love, because as soon as the child is given birth to, the child is placed on the mom's chest and then introduced to the breast milk for within the first 1 hour. So to that extent, UNICEF, championing the cause of the rights of the child, sees this as the first right, and that first right has to be emphasized because it gives rise to the rest. Once a child is started on this good note, for the first 6 months, that child has access to cost-effective, very efficient, climate resilient, because this time it doesn't need packaging, it moves with the baby wherever the baby goes, and then it's affordable by the family, that the child gets this breast milk prepared by nature with strong scientific evidence to show its potency in making sure that this child survives, grows to the full potential, and have the right cognitive abilities to contribute to nation building.
All right, you've been able to explain and tell us the essence and importance of giving a child a breast milk for the first 6 months. However, now I want to ask, are there biggest barriers of breastfeeding in Nigeria today? Do we have barriers to that practice in Nigeria?
Yeah, there are barriers, and you find some of the breastfeeding mothers, they feel generally overwhelmed, unsupported, unencouraged. And all these barriers, they are at different levels. You have some barriers at the family level, and that is fueled mainly by myths and misconceptions, where some of the beliefs in some traditional settings shows that a child needs water, that the breast milk doesn't have adequate water, and it doesn't provide adequate nutrient for the child. And that on its own is a factor that discourages a lot of families from sticking to exclusive breastfeeding. So to address this, all the social network of the woman, the family, the immediate family, the religious groups, and the entire community need to rally around the woman, assure her of the efficacy of this, and provide all the necessary support that will make her to effectively and efficiently breastfeed for the first 6 months exclusively. Then going beyond that, there are other factors. Some of those factors, you find them at the world of work. These days, we have a lot of working class moms. These moms, they go to work, and some institutions, both government and both formal and non-formal, have not instituted the paid maternity leave, which allows the woman to take time off immediately after birth to be able to effectively breastfeed the baby as expected. The other barrier is that for some of the institutions too, including marketplaces, they lack conducive places, breastfeeding rooms, where the woman could always go and breastfeed her baby in dignity within that period. Again, some of the barriers stem from even the health facilities, where a woman needs to be educated, encouraged, and supported through antenatal care, during birth, during postpartum care, all the issues around breastfeeding, including encouragement and even teaching on the practical steps of placing the baby to the breast and the importance of introducing the baby to the milk within the first hours, that's also an area that a lot of emphasis need to be put in place. So you see both structural and policy gaps, as well as social norms which impact the ability of the woman to effectively breast the baby.
All right, now let's shift the focus now to the mother themselves. Are there benefits that mothers tend to gain when they breastfeed their baby for the first 6 months?
Absolutely. Now, for the mother, the benefits are also numerous. One is, let's start from the emotional bond between the mother and the baby. Because the first thing, you can watch yourself when the baby is breastfeeding, it looks directly into the eye of the mom. That is the bonding. And that I can also say that this is one of the reasons why there is also the call for organizations to also give paternity leave to parents. You can see the face of the mom, the way it looks directly into the eye of the baby. Now, again, the breastfeeding also is being proven that breastfeeding has a way of also preventing breast cancer for a woman that has just given birth. Then there's also evidence that it helps with weight control and so on and so forth. So for the baby, for the mom herself, she derives a lot of benefits without losing anything, while also contributing to a worthy life for the baby that she has just given birth to. So at the end of the day, it's a win-win between the mother, the baby, the family, and the society at large. Because for a baby that is well breastfed exclusively for the first 6 months with proper introduction of other age-appropriate complementary feedings, those babies can be guaranteed not to have stunting. And we know that stunting, the negative effect of stunting is that it impedes the cognitive abilities of the child. And a child that has great cognitive ability can learn, acquire skills that can be used in contributing to nation building. So at the end of the day, if we're able to strengthen both the structure and the institutions, including the policy framework that supports a woman to exclusively breastfeed for the first 6 months and introduce other complementary feeding up to 2 years, minimum of 2 years, we can see that there is benefit for everyone and it's win-win.
All right. Now, earlier before I asked you the benefit for the mother who breastfeeds the child, I asked you the issue of barrier, and you made mention of work and conducive environment for the mother to be able to breastfeed the child. However, I want to ask, what role do you think the government should play now in creating an enabling environment for breastfeeding? And what are some of the specific policies that UNICEF is advocating for to enable that to be a success?
This is great, and permit me to use Lagos State as an example.
Okay.
Lagos State has that law that authorizes that every worker, every female worker in Lagos, once he puts to bed, has automatic 6 months paid maternity leave. So with 6 months paid maternity leave, the barrier of rushing to work, not having conducive place to breastfeed, that is already conquered. And it's guaranteed that that woman can effectively breastfeed the baby for 6 months, which is recommended before coming back to work. So first thing is, let government take that proactive action to support nation building, support the family institution by making sure that these policies are there. Secondly, it's also highly recommended that institutions, both formal and non-formal, should also put in place breastfeeding rooms, specific acts, breastfeeding rooms, because once a woman is guaranteed of breastfeeding rooms and crèches within the workspace, women may no longer be required to take their children to private crèches where they drop their babies 3 months, 2 months, as the case may be, return to work, and then either express milk or get other milk substitutes, which is not recommended. The other policy framework that needs to be in place is that advertising for breast milk substitutes needs to be highly regulated by government, because people need to make informed decisions on what is in the best interest of the child as well as the community.
All right. Now coming to the aspect, leaving the government alone, the government cannot do everything. What do you think the community can also do in encouraging this practice of breastfeeding the child for the first 6 months?
Yes, I would say that the first point of call immediately after birth is the family and the community. Because in African parlance, it's a common saying that the whole community trains a child. So it then becomes critical that every member of the society supports and reinforces the great message that breastfeeding exclusively is the best option. And everybody, the peer group of the mother, the father, and everybody need to support. So there needs to be that supportive environment with encouragement, and where needed, the father needs to step in with some of the household chores to ensure that the woman has adequate time to effectively breastfeed the baby. So at the community level, that's where most of the problems start, because where the social norms are not encouraging, the community needs to stand up to emphasize the effect of the grandmothers who will insist that my grandchild can't take breast milk alone without water or without other solid food. That has to be discouraged at that point. And if we have the women group who are able to discuss this within their own women groups and understand, and that's also where the media comes to play. When media and everybody in the community, we have concerted efforts, demystify all those myths, and then put the right information across to people, then the community needs to uphold it and ensure that there's proper referral systems, there's a proper support systems, and then whoever is going against this, the community has a structure to bring the person back to order, knowing that that child belongs to the community, and with the right breastfeeding, that child has the potential to grow into someone that can be of pride to the entire community and the nation at large.
I like that. All right, now before I let you go, Breastfeeding Week is something celebrated on a yearly basis, right? However, how effective and has this practice on a yearly basis been? And now to you, in your own opinion, what other changes do you wish to see in the coming year?
Yes, thank you very much. You see, this is celebrated on yearly basis, given its importance. But if you look at the theme for this year, it shows that we are now moving from business as usual to a more structured and a sustained approach. So right now it is prioritize breastfeeding and then create and provide structures that can sustain it. So that shows us that, yes, we've been doing great, we've been doing a lot, but now sustainability is the fact. So we need to reinforce the message. We need to ensure that, because once we have in all institutions, both formal and informal, including the marketplaces, if we have crutches there, we're already tackling the issues. If the myths and misconceptions are addressed, we're already tackling the issues. If we create that structure and the health workers are trained effectively to communicate these and provide support during antenatal care services, during birth and during postpartum care, then we can see that there is an integrated approach that brings everyone together, UNICEF inclusive, partners, civil society organizations, and most importantly, the media that has this possibility of reaching wider audience than every other person. So right now we're looking at more integrated framework that looks at sustainability, that looks at building systems, strengthening systems in such a way that the system can on its own operate. Lagos State, for example, a woman that is expecting already knows that once she puts to bed, she has paid leave, maternity leave. So the worries are over. She can go home, stay, and then take proper care of this baby, of which the most important thing amongst them is to exclusively breastfeed this child for the first 6 months, and then within that period, also introduce other infant feeding options. But while we're also talking about this exclusive breastfeeding, and the mother is at home for 6 months, it gives her a chance also to take the baby to health facilities for the other different immunization services and so on and so forth, and ensure that there's birth registration and all other things that the child needs at that early stage. She has all the time to be able to get all of them done without that rush of going back to work. And even when she's going back to work, she's not in a hurry to take the child to a crèche where she doesn't have the opportunity of breastfeeding, but can bring the child along and then have the child in the crèche, either in the office, the marketplace, or wherever she goes to, and still be able to continue to take care of her, and then be encouraged while introducing other feeding options, should still be able to, breastfeed this baby to a minimum of 2 years. That's 24 months. So the formula here is 1, 6, 24. 1 stands for introducing the baby, initiating breastfeeding within the first hour of birth.
Okay.
6 stands for exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. And then 24 stands for from 6 months to 24 years to 24 months, which is 2 years, that the baby continues to enjoy breast milk, but with the introduction of other solids and age-appropriate infant feeding options.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed Okoria, for being a part of the show at News at 7 on Western Spring Television. All right, we've been speaking with Mr. Mohammed Okoria, Social Policy Manager and Officer in Charge, UNICEF Lagos Field Office.